Now, what is up, my fellow prod coders? Welcome to this video, and today we're going to continue working on our server-to-server communication with JSON Web Signature tokens using the RSA algorithm for creating the signature. Now, we already started in the last video, but right now we kind of have somewhat a situation here because if we are running the normal HMAC version, which we currently have under server A, bam, then you're going to see that it will crash. And the reason is because we are not supplying like an environment variable for these two environment variables, and then we attempt to load this file and then it fails. So that's why I'm just going to make a function here, and I'm just going to call this load key and a path. And if the path is falsy, so that means if nothing was supplied like to the environment variable, I'm just going to return null. And otherwise, I'm going to try to fetch this thing from disk. And the way this works is I'm just going to say file system.read file sync and then the path. And ideally this works, but it could be that it doesn't work. So I'm just going to console error this. By the way, as I already said 5,000 times, don't use console error or console log in production, because it's not async, it's synchronous and it blocks the main thread, and that's not good. Okay, now if this happens, I think we need to exit because we don't know what to do. Now, one important note here is that don't use process.exit in prod. Rather do graceful shutdown, right? Because what this does is it immediately kills the process, and there might be like something running, and then you're kind of shutting this off, shutting this down. So that's why you should not use this in prod, but like for tutorial, it's fine, I guess. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say load key, and then I'm going to say load key here as well. And now let's check if this works. Ah, yeah, it's working. Nice. One more thing, I think I had to change something in the configuration file. No, in the index file here. Yeah, that was the thing. So I accidentally did not import the correct path. So previously it was like this, and then it failed. And I had to add to go one more level up, and then it was working. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's it pretty much. So we have our token configuration. We're reading the thing from our environment variables. That is pretty good. And what else do we need to do? Well, actually, the only thing we're still missing are the RSA keys. And typically you would probably generate like RSA key or this RSA key pair locally with OpenSSL. But for the time being, I'm just going to use like some website because I don't want to explain OpenSSL to you. Because that's like a completely different topic. So I have this website here. It's called the travestydwell.com JS encrypt demo, and there you can generate like RSA key pairs. So we're going to use that in a second. But maybe one more thing before we do that, let's add some new scripts here, shall we? Because what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to mark this. I'm going to copy this, going to paste this, and I'm going to say, okay, we have an additional script. This one is called RSA server A and RSA server B. And now the only thing, oh, that's interesting. I just saw that this actually has to be server A and this has to be server B. Right? Oh, no, that's correct. Oh, that was correct. Yeah, the partner server is server B and the actual server name is server A. Okay, that was my bad. So everything's correct. Okay, that's good. Now, what do we need? We need to do two things now. For one, what I want to do is I want to make this configuration here, this one here, I want to make it an environment variable because it's kind of optional. So I'm just going to rename this to HMAC secret. And that should be fine. And I hope that this one was also renamed in all the services. So if I go over here and I check, yeah, it was renamed to HMAC secret. So it seems like VS Code did it correctly, but we're going to see whether it worked. Okay, so we just renamed this for clarity. And I'm just going to put this inside of an environment variable. So I'm going to say HMAC secret. And then what I'll do is I'll just copy this. I'm going to go to our package.json, and now we need to supply our two servers that are using HMAC with the same secret. Okay. So that's pretty good. Now we have at least externalized this HMAC secret here as well. Good. So that's it pretty much for the configuration, I would say. So now that this is done, we can, I think, move on with the package.json over here. So one thing we need to do is, instead of passing this HMAC secret, we need to pass the name, or like the path of the private and the public key. And if we go to our configuration, then we see, okay, we basically have two environment variables, this one. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to paste that in. And I'm just going to assume that this one is called server B public .key. Okay, we're just going to later on create a file for that, and we need to copy this as well, paste it down here, and this time around it needs to be server A public key. Okay, so what we're saying is this is server A, and the partner public key is server B dash public key. That makes sense. Cool. And another thing we need, so why is this now marked? I don't know. Another thing we need is we need this thing over here. So I'm just going to copy that one as well. And this is going to be the private key. So I'm just going to paste that in, and I'm just going to say, okay, this is going to be server a-private.key. And in here, it will be the exact same. The only difference is it's going to be server b-private.key. Okay. And here, also quite interesting, you basically see the pattern here, right? So server A has its own private key. Server B has its own private key. But server A has like the key of the partner server. So server A gets the public key of server B, and vice versa. So server B has the public key of server A. So that should be it for like this little script over here. And I think the only thing that's now left would be to create like some RSA keys and put them here into the file system, and then that should work. One more note here. Typically you would not put this like inside the file system, and since this tutorial, like we'll add 4 files for the private and the public key for server A, and the private and public key for server B. In reality, of course, these servers would be separate, so you would not have that, but I just wanted to show you how this works. And in reality, you should also not store like these private keys like as a file inside of the code. That's like very problematic. For tutorial, it's fine, but for production, please only use like an environment variable or some Kubernetes secret. Cool. Since we have almost reached 10 minutes, I would just say let's continue in the next video, and let's set up the RSA keys there. So thank you very much for watching. please make sure to give the video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. You can also reach out to me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @productioncoder, and I have also put a video link in the video description down below where you can sign up for an email list, and sometimes from time to time I send an email around. So if you guys want to have a say in what we cover next on the channel, you can just leave your email there, and yeah, then you will get updates. So again, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.